The carburetor clicked into place on the first try. After 3 weeks of wrestling with that temperamental piece of machinery, my 1967 Mustang finally purred to life like it remembered how to be young again. I shut off the engine, wiped my hands on an old rag, and checked my watch. 6:47 p.m. early for me to call it a day, but sometimes the universe decides to throw you a bone. I walked from the garage toward the house, keys jingling in my pocket. The September evening air in Scottsdale carried that particular quality of heat that makes you grateful for air conditioning. The kitchen window was open. Violet always complained about the stuffiness, and that's when I heard voices drifting out. I stopped. Something in the tone made me pause. After the Maldives, we hand the old man the bill during Christmas dinner. Eric's voice carried clearly through the window. In front of everyone. He won't be able to say no publicly. My daughter laughed. Actually laughed. Perfect timing. And then we need to handle the house situation. My attorney says if Dad signs himself into assisted living voluntarily, we can get full access to his accounts through power of attorney. I stood frozen by the garage door, my hand still on the handle. They didn't know I was home. The Mustang had been so quiet. What if he resists? Eric again. My son-in-law of 3 years. The man who called me Pops at family dinners. He won't. He's getting forgetful. We document a few incidents, get a doctor to sign off on early dementia. Kyle says there's a guy who'll do it for $5,000. Violet's voice was casual, like she was discussing weekend plans. And the house. Once we have power of attorney, we can make him sign it over. Or, she paused. I could picture her probably examining her manicured nails. Accidents happen. Old people fall downstairs all the time. My hands started trembling. Not from fear, from something colder, harder. 40 years I'd built my auto service business from a single garage bay to a chain of 8 locations across Arizona. 40 years of early mornings and late nights, of choosing work over vacations, of saving and investing so my only daughter would never want for anything. And here she was, planning to what? Kill me. Put me away like a broken-down car not worth fixing. I backed away slowly, carefully. The gravel under my feet suddenly felt like broken glass. Each step a potential betrayal of sound. I made it back to the Mustang, slid behind the wheel, and just sat there. My reflection in the rearview mirror looked like a stranger. 67 years old, silver hair, lines around my eyes from squinting at engines in poor light. Still strong enough to handle a wrench. Still sharp enough to build a business. But apparently to my daughter, I was just an obstacle, a walking ATM machine that had outlived its usefulness. I started the engine and drove. No destination in mind, just driving through neighborhoods where families were sitting down to dinner, where porch lights glowed warm and welcoming. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd bought that house on 2847 East Chaparral Road 20 years ago. 4 bedrooms, pool, separate garage for my restoration projects. Violet had her sweet 16 there, her graduation party, her wedding reception, which I'd paid for in full. And now she wanted to push me down the stairs. The thing about working with machines your whole life is that you learn patience. You learn that some problems can't be fixed with brute force. You need strategy, precision. You need to understand the entire system before you start taking it apart. By the time I pulled back into my driveway 2 hours later, my hands were steady. Violet and Eric's BMW was gone, probably at that country club they loved, spending my money on overpriced cocktails. I walked past the kitchen window, now closed, and went straight to my workshop. I sat in the Mustang engine off and thought about chess. I'd never been much of a player, but I understood the concept. You don't react to your opponent's move. You plan 3 moves ahead. You make them think they're winning right up until the moment you take their king. They wanted to play games with an old man. Fine. I'd spent 4 decades running a business, dealing with suppliers who tried to cheat me, employees who stole from me, competitors who wanted to crush me. I'd outlasted them all, not through luck, through careful planning and the willingness to make hard decisions. If Violet and Eric wanted war, they just declared it on someone who'd been in the trenches long before they were born. And unlike them, I actually knew how to fight. I got out of the car and locked the garage. Tomorrow, I'd start making calls. Tonight, I needed to sleep on it. Make sure this cold calculation in my chest wasn't just anger talking. But deep down, I already knew. The game had begun, and they just made the first move without realizing I was even playing. Sleep didn't come. I lay there staring at the ceiling, remembering a different Violet, 6 years old, sitting on my workbench with legs swinging, asking how carburetors worked. She'd never understood the mechanics, but she'd listened with those big eyes, nodding at my explanations about fuel-air mixtures. Dad, when I grow up, can I work at your shop? You can do anything you want, sweetheart. Anything at all. Now she wanted me in a nursing home or dead. The next 2 days, I watched them. Friday morning, Violet came down in her expensive yoga outfit. Everything she wore was expensive. Purchased with the credit card I paid monthly. Morning, Dad. She kissed my cheek. Eric and I might go to the club later. You need anything? I smiled over my coffee. No, sweetheart. Have fun. The performance was flawless. If I hadn't heard that conversation, I'd have believed every word. Eric appeared 20 minutes later. Hey, Pops. Violet mentioned you might need help with property taxes. I've got contacts who specialize in estate planning for seniors. Estate planning for seniors. That's thoughtful. Let me think about it. No pressure. Just want you taken care of. He clapped my shoulder. Time to let the younger generation handle the complicated stuff. After they left, the house felt too big, too quiet. Last Christmas, Violet had given me an expensive watch because you deserve nice things, Dad. I'd worn it every day since. Now I wondered if she'd kept the receipt by Saturday. I knew what I needed. Professional help. Someone who understood the legal battlefield ahead. My friend Tom from the car club had mentioned his divorce attorney once. Tough woman who hadn't let his ex-wife take everything. Tom, it's Frank Walker. That attorney you used, Sharon Cole. Still have her number. 20 minutes later, I had a Monday morning appointment. Sunday dinner was almost funny. Violet cooked. Actually cooked, which should have warned me. Roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, good china on the table. Asterisk, I've been thinking, Violet said, passing potatoes. Eric and I should be around more. You're not getting younger, and this house is a lot to maintain. I manage fine. Dad, be realistic. She squeezed my hand. What if you fell? We worry about you. Eric nodded. We were talking to folks at the club about assisted living communities. Really nice places. Paradise Valley assisted living has. I'm not interested. Violet's expression flickered, irritation crossing her face before the concerned daughter mask returned. We're just trying to help. After they left for a party, I cleared dishes and thought about how my daughter had looked at me like I was a stubborn child. Monday morning, I found Sharon Cole's office on North Scottsdale Road, 3rd floor, clean and efficient. She was early 50s, sharp eyes, firm handshake. "Mr. Walker, Tom speaks highly of you. What can I do for you?" I told her everything. The conversation, the forged documents, the convenient accidents. Laid it out like diagnosing engine trouble. Factual, organized, unemotional. She listened, taking notes. When I finished, she leaned back. "Mr. Walker, if you transfer assets into an irrevocable trust, there's no walking it back. That money is gone from your control forever. I understand you're willing to essentially disinherit your daughter." I met her eyes. My daughter is planning to kill me or lock me away. She wants my money now and wants me gone, so yes, I'm willing. Sharon nodded slowly. "Then let's talk charitable trusts. But we need documentation. Proof of what you heard. Not yet. Then that's step 1. Solid evidence that'll hold up if they challenge this." She pulled out a business card. "Private investigator I've worked with. Retired detective. Discreet. Walter Hicks. A phone number. How long will this take to set up the trust?" "A few weeks for paperwork. But to do this right, make it bulletproof, 3 months minimum. Can you live with them that long knowing what you know and act normal?" I thought about 40 years of dealing with difficult customers, bad employees, worse competitors, about patience and strategy. "I can wait. And while I wait, I'll let them think they're winning." Sharon smiled, not warm, but approving. "Then let's get started. They want your money. Let's make sure they never see a dime." I left her office feeling something I hadn't felt in 2 days. Purpose, direction, the trembling was gone. In its place was something steadier. Colder, I drove home and walked into the house where my daughter sat laughing at her phone. She looked up, smiled, that perfect smile. "Hey Dad, how was your day?" "Good, really good, actually. I've been thinking about what you said about planning ahead. Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time I got my affairs in order." Her eyes lit up. "Really? Oh Dad, that's so smart. Eric will be thrilled. He knows great financial planners." "I'm sure he does." I headed toward my workshop. "I'll think about it. No rush, right? Right, no rush at all." I closed the workshop door and allowed myself one small smile. They thought they were so clever. They had no idea what was coming. The game was on, and this time I was playing to win. Wednesday morning, September 25th. The coffee shop Walter Hicks chose sat on the edge of Scottsdale. The kind of place where truckers stopped for breakfast and nobody asked questions. He was already there when I arrived. Early 60s, grey hair, cropped military short eyes that missed nothing. "Mr. Walker," he didn't offer his hand, just gestured to the booth. "Professional, I like that." I outlined what I needed. Recordings of conversations, proof of intent. He listened without interrupting, occasionally making notes. "Hidden cameras with audio," he said finally. 3 locations should cover it. Living room, kitchen, basement, where the son-in-law keeps his files. I can have them installed tomorrow while they're out. How much? $8,500 for equipment and installation. Weekly reports included. You want video or just audio? Video. I want to see their faces when they talk about me. Something flickered in Walter's expression. Understanding, maybe. I'll need access for about 3 hours. Can you arrange that? They're at the country club every Thursday afternoon, 2 to 6, like clockwork. Then we're set. He pulled out a contract. One thing, Mr. Walker, once you start down this road, there's no pretending you didn't see what you'll see. You sure you want to know? I thought about Violet's performance at breakfast. The fake concern, the calculated touches. I already know. I just need proof. Thursday afternoon, I took them to lunch at their favorite restaurant. My treat, naturally. I watched Eric check his Rolex twice, Violet reapply her lipstick 3 times. They were eager to get to the club. You two have fun, I said, picking up the check. I'll probably work on the Mustang this afternoon. You work too hard, Dad. Violet kissed my cheek. You should relax more. I smiled. You're probably right, sweetheart. The moment their BMW turned the corner, I called Walter. They're gone. 3 hours later, my house looked exactly the same, but behind the antique oil painting in the living room, inside the old grandfather clock in the kitchen, tucked in the basement ceiling vent, cameras watched, waited. Recorded, motion activated, Walter explained. Battery backup in case of power outage. Footage uploads to a secure cloud server. You'll get daily reports, but I recommend reviewing everything weekly. Easier to track patterns. That first week, I watched my daughter and son-in-law like a nature documentary. Observed their habits, their routines, their casual cruelty. Friday evening, Violet on the phone in the living room. No, Mum's side of the family won't be a problem. Dad barely talks to them anymore. Once we have power of attorney, we'll handle everything quietly. Saturday afternoon, Eric in the basement with someone I didn't recognize. Younger guy, expensive haircut. Kyle, I'm telling you, the old man's losing it. He forgot where he parked last week. This is our window. So that was Kyle, the friend, the instigator. Sunday morning, Violet making breakfast. Another performance for my benefit. Dad, Eric and I were thinking, what if we all went to Hawaii for Thanksgiving? Our treat, that's generous, sweetheart. You deserve it. You've worked so hard all your life. I watched her smile. So practiced, so perfect. Watched Eric nod along, playing the doting and I thought about the recordings from the day before where she'd laughed about managing the old man and he joked about my expiration date. The thing about patience is that it's not passive. It's active observation, careful documentation, building a case brick by brick. Week 2, the recordings got worse. Detailed discussions about which nursing home would be cheapest. Speculation about how much my car collection was worth. Plans to contest my will if I didn't sign over everything voluntarily. October 15th evening, I sat in my workshop reviewing footage. Violet and Eric in the kitchen, thinking I was asleep upstairs. The Mustang alone is probably worth 60 grand, Eric said. And he's got 7 others. That's $400,000 minimum. What about the house? $850,000 market value. But we need to move fast. He's getting more forgetful. Last week, he asked me the same question twice. I hadn't. I'd been testing them, seeing if they'd use my supposed confusion as ammunition. They had by November 15th. I had 47 hours of recordings. 47 hours of my daughter plotting to rob me. Discussing my death like a business transaction. Planning my imprisonment like I was an inconvenient obstacle. The worst moment came on. November 8th. Eric standing in my basement. Phone to his ear. Kyle, the insurance policy is solid. Maximum payout. Minimal questions. All we need is the right circumstances. Old guy stares. Tragic accident happens every day. Violet's voice from upstairs. Eric, who are you talking to? Nobody, babe. Just checking messages. Then her footsteps on the basement stairs. I called Paradise Valley Assisted Living today. They have an opening next month. $6,800 a month, but they include all meals and medical care. That's actually cheaper than what he spends now on utilities and food. Exactly. And once he's there, we file for full power of attorney. They said with a doctor's signature about cognitive decline, it's straightforward. Your attorney found a doctor. $5,000 cash. No questions asked. I sat in the Mustang that night, not in my workshop, but in the driveway. Engine off. The recordings played through my phone, their voices tiny but clear. My hands didn't shake anymore. The pain had crystallized into something harder, colder, purpose. I called Sharon Cole. I'm ready. I want to move forward with everything. You have the proof. 47 hours of it. Then let's burn their world down. Mid-November. Arizona mornings carried that perfect coolness before the heat kicked in. I sat across from Sharon Cole in her office, a notary named Patricia Martinez beside her. Between us, a stack of documents 3 inches thick. This is the irrevocable trust agreement, Sharon said. Once you sign, you cannot change your mind. The money belongs to the Frank Walker Educational Foundation. You'll retain $200,000 for living expenses, but the remaining $2,850,000 goes into the foundation permanently, and they can't contest it. Not successfully. Arizona law is clear. You have the right to dispose of your assets however you wish. Add in your cognitive assessments from 3 independent specialists, and any challenge collapses immediately. The cognitive tests had been Sharon's idea. 2 neurologists and 1 psychiatrist had put me through hours of evaluation. Memory tests, logic puzzles, comprehensive interviews. All 3 concluded the same thing, sharp as ever. What about the house? I asked. That's separate. You can sell it to anyone, anytime, but I'd recommend acting fast. You want the sale completed before they can challenge anything. I'll find a buyer. Patricia, the notary, arranged her stamp. Mr. Walker, I need to ask, are you signing these documents of your own free will? Is anyone coercing you? Nobody's pressuring me. This is exactly what I want to do, and you understand the permanent nature of an irrevocable trust. I understand perfectly. We spent the next hour signing papers, her stamp thudding down on page after page. When we finished, Sharon slid the complete packet into a manila envelope. The foundation will be administered by Richard Torres, retired judge, completely independent. Your money will fund scholarships for children of automotive technicians. 20 kids per year, $15,000 each. Good. I stood, shook her hand. Thank you, Sharon. Don't thank me yet. The hard part's still coming. I know, but they'll be fighting with nothing while I hold all the cards. That evening, Violet mentioned she'd booked another trip to the Maldives. Just a week. Eric's been so stressed with work. Right, the work of spending my money. That sounds nice, sweetheart. When are you leaving? Tomorrow morning. Oh, Dad, can we use your MX? Ours is maxed out from wedding expenses. The wedding I'd paid for, the honeymoon I'd funded. Of course, I said. Whatever you need. Asterisk. Her face lit up. You're the best. After she left, I called Sharon. They're going to the Maldives tomorrow. I need them gone for at least a week. Why? Because I'm selling the house. Finding a buyer took one phone call. Tom from the car club knew a Boeing engineer relocating to Scottsdale. Family man, good income, desperate for the right place. Stephen Wright met me at the house 3 days later. Mid-40s, sincere handshake, wife and 2 kids waiting in the car. Mr. Walker, Tom said, you're considering selling, not considering selling. But I need the deal done fast. 2 weeks for closing, buyers move in January 15th. His eyes widened. That's aggressive. I know, which is why I'm offering below market. $680,000. Comparable sales in this neighborhood are closer to $850. I know, but I need speed and discretion. Can you do it? Stephen looked at the house, at his waiting family, back at me. Can I ask why? I met his gaze steadily. I have my reasons. Good reasons, but they're private. He studied me for a long moment. Okay, yes, we can do it. We signed the preliminary agreement that afternoon. His bank approved the loan within 48 hours. The final closing was scheduled for December 5th. Asterisk November slipped into December, while Violet and Eric sipped cocktails on a beach I was paying for. I spent the time organizing, preparing. Sharon filed the trust documents with the county recorder. I met with Richard Torres, outlined my vision for the scholarships, talked to an apartment rental agency about a small place near my workshop. All the pieces falling into place. December 5th arrived cold and clear. Stephen Wright, his attorney, Sharon Cole, and I sat in a title company office. Documents passed back and forth. Signatures, initials, more signatures, the title transfer. When we finished, Stephen handed me a cashier's check for $680,000. My family will take good care of this house, he said quietly. I know you will. That's why I sold it to you. Violet and Eric returned that evening, tanned and relaxed. They'd spent $50,000 on my credit card. Didn't even apologize, just showed me pictures. Dad, we need to talk about something, Violet said over dinner. Finances, future planning. We think it's time you let us help manage things. Actually, I've been thinking the same thing, I said. How about we discuss it at Christmas dinner? I'm planning something special. Inviting the whole family. The whole family. Aunt Florence, Cousin Edward, some friends from the car club. Make it a real celebration. That sounds perfect, Eric said. We'll bring champagne. You do that. After they left, I sat in my workshop. Everything was arranged. The trust irrevocable, the house sold and closed, the recordings compiled and damning. All that remained was the reveal. They wanted to publicly humiliate me with their $50,000 bill. Fine, I'd give them a public response they'd never forget. December 20th, Sharon delivered the final documents. Everything certified, notarized, legally bulletproof. I placed them in a red envelope, tied it with gold ribbon, wrote on the front, for Violet and Eric, with love, Dad. The irony wasn't lost on me. For more days until Christmas, for more days of watching them play their roles, confident in their scheme. They had no idea what was coming. And that was exactly how I wanted it. They returned from the Maldives on December 7th, tanned and glowing with the kind of satisfaction only other people's money can buy. I was in the kitchen when their BMW pulled into the driveway, preparing dinner like the doting father I'd played for 3 months. Dad, Violet swept in, arms full of shopping bags. We had the most amazing time. The villa was incredible. Right on the water, private beach, our own chef. $3,000 a night, Eric added, dropping his luggage in the hallway like he owned the place. Which I suppose he thought he did. Worth every penny. I smiled, stirring the pasta sauce. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Dinner in 20 minutes. Perfect. Violet started pulling out her phone. Let me show you the photos. For the next hour, I endured a slideshow of their vacation. Infinity pools, sunset dinners, spa treatments, $50,000 of luxury documented in high-definition detail. Eric kept one arm around Violet, the other holding a glass of my wine, looking like a man who'd won the lottery. Dad, Violet said after dinner, her tone shifting to serious. We need to talk about something about your finances. Here it was. The setup, I kept my expression neutral, curious. You're not getting any younger, Eric, and I think it's time you let us help manage things. You know, make sure everything's organized, properly handled. Eric leaned forward. We've been talking to some financial advisors, estate planners. There are ways to structure things that would benefit everyone. Benefit everyone, right? That's thoughtful of you both, I said slowly. Tell you what, let's discuss it at Christmas dinner. I'm planning something special. I want the whole family there when we talk about the future. Violet's eyes lit up. You mean like announcing gifts, plans, something like that? Special announcements. They exchanged glances, the kind of look conspirators share when they think they've won. Eric raised his wine glass. To family planning. To family, I echoed, watching them over the rim of my glass. After they left for the country club, I sat alone in the kitchen. They thought I was announcing my surrender, signing over control, maybe even announcing I'd check myself into assisted living. They had no idea what was coming. December 10th, I started making calls. First, my sister Florence, my older sister, who'd always been protective, sometimes annoyingly so. Frank, is everything all right? Everything's fine, Flo. I'm hosting Christmas dinner this year. Private room at the Mission, December 24th, 6:30. Can you make it? Of course. Is this about, I'll explain everything at dinner? Just trust me. Next was my cousin Edward, a retired accountant who'd seen his share of family financial drama. Then 2 friends from the car club, Mike and Tom, both of whom remembered when I'd built my business from nothing. 8 witnesses total. Plus Violet and Eric. Perfect. I also called Sharon Cole. I need you nearby on Christmas Eve, not at the dinner, but close, just in case. You really think they'll try something? I think when cornered animals realize they've lost, they get desperate. The next week crawled by. I maintained my routine, worked on the Mustang, made breakfast, played the role of the aging, slightly confused father. Meanwhile, Violet and Eric's confidence grew. They stopped being careful around me, their conversations more open, more brazen. December 15th evening, I reviewed the latest camera footage in my workshop. Eric was on the phone with Kyle again. Everything's on track. After Christmas, we file the guardianship paperwork. My attorney says, with the right doctor's signature, it's a matter of weeks. The old man won't even understand what he's signing. And the house. Once we have power of attorney, we sell it. $850,000 minimum. Split with you after we clear the old man's debts. What debts? Kyle laughed. The guy's loaded. He will be in debt once we're done with him. I closed the laptop. 47 hours of recordings, every conversation saved, backed up, time-stamped. They'd built my case better than any attorney could have. December 20th arrived cold and bright. Sharon called at noon. I have everything. Trust documents, house sale, medical evaluations, all registered, all legal, all bulletproof. Good. Asterisk, Frank, are you sure about this? Once you do this, there's no relationship left to salvage. Sharon, there hasn't been a relationship for a long time. I just didn't want to see it. That afternoon, I took the documents she'd prepared and placed them in a red envelope. The kind you use for Christmas cards, added a gold ribbon. Wrote on the front in my careful handwriting, for Violet and Eric, with love. Dad, the irony tasted bitter. December 24th dawned clear and cold. Christmas Eve, I dressed carefully. My best suit, the watch Violet had given me last year, polished shoes. If this was going to be a performance, I'd look the part. The mission's private dining room cost $1,200 to rent. Last expense on the corporate card before I closed it. The room was perfect, intimate but formal, with high ceilings and warm lighting. I'd ordered the best menu they offered. Duck, lobster, premium wine at $180 per bottle. Go out with style at least. I arrived early, placed the red envelope on the chair next to mine, adjusted my tie in the mirror. In a few hours, everything would be different. No more pretending. No more watching my daughter plot my destruction while smiling at me over breakfast. Just the truth, and the truth, as they say, will set you free. 6:30. They arrived like it was their coronation. Violet wore a red dress, designer, expensive, probably purchased with my credit card. Eric had on a suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. They entered with the confidence of people who believed they were about to inherit millions. Dad, Violet kissed my cheek. This is gorgeous. Family's always worth it. Florence arrived next, my sister, sharp-eyed and skeptical. Then Edward, my cousin, followed by Mike and Tom from the car club. Everyone settled around the table as servers brought out appetizers. The meal was excellent. I made small talk, played the gracious host. Violet kept glancing at me, anticipation building. Eric touched her hand periodically, little reassuring squeezes. After dessert, Violet stood up. She had a white envelope in her hand. Before we finish, she said, voice carrying practiced sweetness, Eric and I wanted to thank Dad for everything, especially for making our Maldives trip so special. She walked over, placed the envelope in front of me. Inside, a bill from Maldives Paradise Resort. $50,000 itemized in neat columns. We thought Christmas Eve would be perfect to settle this, Violet continued. With everyone here. Pay it by New Year's, old man. It's the least you can do for your only daughter, old man. She'd said it right there in front of everyone. Not Dad, just old man, like I was some stranger she was invoicing. The room went silent. Florence's fork clinked against her plate. Edward stared at his wineglass. I looked at the bill, then at my daughter, her expectant smile, her confident posture, and I smiled, not a warm smile, a thin, cold smile that made Violet's expression flicker with uncertainty. What a thoughtful gift. Sweetheart. I pulled out the red envelope. I have something for you too. Open it here. I want to see your reaction. Violet took it, confidence returning. She probably thought it was a check. She ripped open the envelope, pulled out the first document. Deed of trust for Frank Walker Educational Foundation. Her smile didn't just fade, it crumbled. Color drained from her face like someone had pulled a plug. Her eyes scanned the document once, twice, her hands starting to shake. What is this? Keep reading. There's more. She pulled out the second document. Her hands trembled now, fingers fumbling. Sale agreement. 2847 East Chaparral Road. Buyer, Stephen Wright. The paper slipped from her fingers. Violet's face went from pale to ashen. Her mouth opened and closed without sound. She looked like she'd been punched. All air gone, unable to process. Eric grabbed the documents. This is... You couldn't have. His voice came out, strangled, panicked. This isn't legal. It's completely legal. Keep looking. One more item. Violet pulled out the DVD case. Her hands shook so badly she nearly dropped it. Written in black marker. September-December 2024. The truth. The first document, I said calmly, is an irrevocable trust. $2,850,000 now belongs to the Frank Walker Educational Foundation. It funds scholarships for automotive technicians' children. I no longer control that money. Eric's face went from tan to grey. His mouth worked, but only a croak came out. The second document is the sale of my house to the Wright family. Closed December 5th. They take possession January 15th. Violet made a sound between a gasp and a sob. Her knees buckled. Eric caught her arm, but he looked just as unsteady. That gives you 3 weeks to find somewhere else to live. This is impossible. Violet's voice came out as a shriek. That's my house. I grew up there. It was my house. Now it's the Wright's house. Florence leaned forward. Frank, what's going on? And the DVD contains 47 hours of recordings, video and audio. Every conversation you two had from September through December, discussing how to put me in assisted living, planning to forge documents about my decline, talking about staging an accident with the stairs. Eric stumbled backward. His face went through several colors. Grey, then red, then sickly white. You were spying. That's illegal. Actually, a voice said from the doorway. Sharon Cole stepped into the room. In Arizona, property owners have every right to install security cameras in common areas of their own homes. Everything Mr. Walker did is completely legal. Violet's legs gave out. She sat down hard, staring at the documents. Her perfect makeup was smudged, hair disheveled. She looked smaller somehow, shrinking before my eyes. Dad, she whispered, voice breaking. This isn't. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stood up, looked down at them. I understand that you spent 3 months plotting to rob me, imprison me, possibly kill me. I understand that you saw me as nothing but a wallet with an inconvenient pulse. I understand exactly what you are. Eric tried once more, voice desperate. We can explain. Save it for your lawyer. You're going to need one. I held up their $50,000 bill. Merry Christmas. The Maldives bill. That's your problem now. Along with finding somewhere to live and figuring out how to survive without my money. Violet's face crumpled. Tears streamed down her cheeks, taking mascara with them. But I felt nothing. No guilt, no regret, just cold satisfaction. Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you for being here. The meal is paid for. Please enjoy your evening. I walked out into the cold December night, leaving my daughter sobbing and my son-in-law staring at documents that had just destroyed their lives. And for the first time in 3 months, I felt like I could breathe. I didn't go home. Couldn't really. It wasn't my home anymore. Instead, I drove to my workshop, parked the Mustang inside, and sat there in the silence. My phone started ringing within minutes. Florence first. Frank, what just happened? Are you all right? I'm fine, Flo. Better than fine, actually. That was, she paused. That was brutal. Necessary, maybe, but brutal. They were planning to kill you. The words came out flat, factual, or lock me away and steal everything. I just beat them to it. She was quiet for a moment. The recordings. You really have proof. 47 hours of it. Every word documented. Then you did what you had to do. Come over tomorrow. We'll talk properly. Edward called next. Then Mike, then Tom. Same conversation, different variations, support mixed with shock. Nobody blamed me. Most said they'd suspected something was off about Eric, about how Violet had changed since marrying him. I slept in the workshop that night on the old couch I kept for late-night restoration sessions. Strange how peaceful it felt. No tension, no watching every word, no pretending. December 26th dawned, cold and clear. I made coffee on the workshop hot plate. Worked on the Mustang's timing until my hands stopped shaking. The carburetor needed adjustment. Simple, mechanical, solvable. Unlike family, my phone buzzed. Sharon Cole. Frank, I assume you've seen the news. What news? Violet and Eric are telling everyone you're senile. That you were manipulated by predatory lawyers, meaning me, to signing away your assets. They're building a narrative. I almost laughed. Let them. We have the medical evaluations. We do, but they're hiring an attorney. This won't be over quietly. I never expected it to be. December 27th, 10 o'clock in the morning. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Dad. Violet's voice small and broken. Please, can we talk? Just us. No. Dad. We made mistakes. We said things we didn't mean. But you can't just. I can. And I did. The documents are registered. The house is sold. The trust is irrevocable. There's nothing to discuss. You're really going to abandon your only daughter. The manipulation was reflexive, automatic. Years of practice in her voice. Violet, you abandoned me 3 months ago. You just didn't tell me until Christmas dinner. I paused. Actually, you told me last September. I was just listening from the garage. Silence, then barely a whisper. You heard every word. The assisted living home, the forged dementia diagnosis, the convenient accident on the stairs. All of it. She started crying. Real tears this time. Maybe we weren't really going to. Your attorney can present your case in court if you can afford one. After paying that Maldives bill, I hung up. That afternoon, I met Sharon at her office. She had papers spread across her desk. Medical evaluations, financial records, trust documents. They're going to fight, she said. Eric's already called twice, demanding to meet. I told him no, he won't leave. Eric's threatening to call the police unless you agree to mediation. I sighed. Fine, I'll be there in 20 minutes. Sharon Cole's office felt different this time. Hostile territory. I found them in the conference room. Violet looked haggard. Makeup hastily applied. Eric wore yesterday's suit, wrinkled and stained. Their attorney was young, maybe 30, with aggressive eyes. Mr. Walker, the attorney stood. Kyle Miller. I represent. I know who you represent. I didn't take his hand. Sat down across from them. You have 15 minutes. Kyle Miller bristled, but controlled it. My clients believe there were irregularities in the asset transfer. They're prepared to file suit challenging the trust and house sale on grounds of diminished capacity. Sharon leaned forward. Your clients are welcome to file. Mr. Walker underwent comprehensive cognitive evaluations by 3 independent specialists. All results excellent. Evaluations can be influenced by... Sharon's voice was ice. By reality, Mr. Walker scored in the top percentile for his age group. Kyle shifted tactics. Then we'll argue undue influence. You manipulated him into legally disposing of his own assets in Arizona. That's called property rights. Parents have zero obligation to leave anything to adult children. Eric's voice shook. This is insane. You can't just steal everything. I didn't steal anything. My voice came out cold. I gave my money to people who deserve it. You too don't. Violet's face crumpled. Dad, please. We'll apologize. You'll what? Promised not to put me in a nursing home, not to forge documents, not to stage an accident. The room went silent. Kyle Miller's face paled. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, opened the video file, pressed play. Eric's voice. Kyle says there's a guy who'll sign off on dementia for $5,000. Violet's response. What about the stairs? Old people fall all the time. I stopped the recording. I have 47 hours like that. Dated, time-stamped, legally obtained. Kyle Miller stood so fast his chair tipped over. This meeting is over. We'll be filing suit. You do that. Sharon's voice followed them out. And we'll countersue for attempted fraud and elder abuse. Then I'll send these recordings to the district attorney. Your choice. They left. The door slammed. Sharon exhaled. Well, that went as expected. Will they actually file? Probably, but they have no case. The medical evaluations kill any incompetence claim. January 2nd, 2025. Court filing notification arrived. They'd done it. Violet Sanders and Eric Sanders versus Frank Walker. Petition to void property sale and trust formation. I called Sharon. They filed. I know. Hearings January 8th. Judge Elizabeth Harris presiding. She's fair. No nonsense. This will be over quick. January 7th. Evening. Someone knocked on the workshop door. Eric. He looked worse, unshaven, eyes red, jeans and t-shirt instead of his usual suit. Frank, please. Just listen. You have 2 minutes before I call the police. We're sorry. We screwed up. We got greedy and we're sorry. His voice broke, but Violet's falling apart. She hasn't eaten in days. This is killing her. She should have thought of that before planning to kill me. We weren't really going to. He stopped, saw my expression. Okay, we talked about it. but we wouldn't have actually done it. How reassuring. Frank, I'm begging you. Drop the house sale. Let us stay until we figure something out. The house is sold. Stephen Wright owns it. You leave in 8 days. Where are we supposed to go? Asterisk, I looked at him. This man who charmed his way into my home, plotted my destruction. He looked small now, broken. That's not my problem, I said. You made your choices. Live with them. He left without another word. January 8th, 9 do meio-dia Maricopa, County Superior Court. The courtroom was smaller than I'd expected. Judge Elizabeth Harris, mid-50s, sharp eyes, no patience for nonsense. Asterisk Kyle Miller presented their case. Emotional appeals, claims of manipulation, allegations that Sharon had taken advantage of an elderly man. Sharon countered with medical evaluations, financial records, timeline documentation. Cool, professional, devastating. Judge Harris interrupted. Mr. Miller, do you have actual evidence of incompetence? Medical opinions? Your Honor, the fact that Mr. Walker gave away millions is his legal right. Do you have evidence or not? Kyle Miller floundered. Violet started crying. Eric stared at the table. Judge Harris reviewed documents for 15 minutes. Then, petition denied. All transactions were legal and executed by a person of sound mind. The defendants have until January 15th to vacate the property. This court is adjourned. Eric bolted from the courtroom. Violet sat frozen, tears streaming silently. I walked out into the Phoenix sunshine, Sharon beside me. It's over, she said. Not quite. They still have to leave. You'll go to the eviction. I thought about seeing my daughter's face one last time as she lost everything. Yes, some things you need to see through to the end. January 15th, 9 o'clock in the morning. I pulled up to 2847 East Chaparral Road one last time. Stephen Wright's moving truck sat in the driveway. 2 guys already carrying furniture inside. A rental van blocked the street. Eric and Violet's escape vehicle loaded with whatever remained of their life here. I parked across the street. Stayed in the Mustang, watched. Violet appeared first, carrying a box marked kitchen. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. No makeup, wearing jeans and an old sweatshirt I'd bought her years ago. She looked small, diminished. Nothing like the woman who demanded $50,000 at Christmas dinner. Eric followed with suitcases. His expensive suit was gone, replaced by cargo pants and a t-shirt, no Rolex on his wrist. He moved like a man carrying more than luggage. The weight of complete failure. I got out of the car. Eric saw me first. His face went through several emotions. Surprise, rage, something that might have been shame. He dropped the suitcases, come to gloat. His voice was rough, probably from yelling or crying or both. Just here to hand over the last documents. Final utility transfers. How generous. He spat the words. You destroyed us, Frank. You happy now? I looked at him. Really looked. The man who charmed his way into my home called me Pops while plotting my death. Now he looked tired, beaten, ordinary. I didn't destroy you, Eric. You destroyed yourself. I just stopped funding it. Violet emerged from the house, saw me. Her face crumpled. Dad, her voice broke. Please, can't we? No, I'm your daughter. Your only daughter. You can't just, I can. I did. I pulled the utility transfer documents from my jacket. These are the final papers. Sign where marked. Eric snatched them, scribbled his signature. His hand shook. Stephen Wright came out, saw the scene, started to retreat. I called out to him. "Stephen, a moment." He approached cautiously, took the documents I offered. "Everything's in order, Mr. Walker. We'll take good care of the place. I know you will. That's why I sold it to you." Eric made a sound, half laugh, half sob. "Sold it below market. Couldn't even get full value. Some businessman." "I got exactly what I wanted," I said calmly. "A good family in my home and you two out of it." Violet started crying. Real tears this time, mascara running down her bare face. "You really hate us that much?" The question hung in the morning air. "No," I said finally. "I don't hate you. I just don't trust you. There's a difference. We're broke, Dad. The Maldives resort is suing us. Debt collectors call 10 times a day. We can barely afford rent on a 1-bedroom in Mesa. Eric can't get clients because everyone knows." She stopped, wiped her face. "You won. This wasn't about winning. Then what was it about?" I thought about that night in September, sitting in the Mustang, hands shaking with betrayal. About 3 months of evidence gathering, watching my daughter plot my imprisonment. About Christmas dinner and that $50,000 bill. "Justice," I said. "You tried to steal my life. I just took back control of it." Eric stepped forward. For a second, I thought he might swing. Instead, his shoulders slumped. "You'll die alone," he said quietly. "Old, alone, with nobody who gives a damn. Was it worth it?" I met his eyes. "Ask me in 20 years. Stephen cleared his throat. "Mr. Walker, I hate to interrupt, but we need to finish unloading, of course." I turned back to Eric and Violet. "You have until noon. After that, you're trespassing." Violet made one last attempt. "Dad, I'm sorry. We were wrong. We were stupid. But I'm still your daughter. Can't you find forgiveness? Maybe someday. But today," I shook my head. "Today you learn that actions have consequences." I walked back to the Mustang, started the engine. In the rearview mirror, I watched Violet collapse against the van. Eric's arm around her shoulders. They looked like what they were, to people who'd gambled everything on a sure thing and lost. The Mustang purred beneath me. Reliable, honest, mechanical problems had solutions. People problems did. I drove away and didn't look back. The next weeks revealed the full picture of their collapse. Tom from the car club kept me updated. He still had friends at Paradise Valley Country Club. Eric had lost every client. Nobody wanted a consultant who couldn't manage his own finances. Violet tried getting a job. Retail, service industry, anything. But 34 years old with no work history and a reputation for entitlement wasn't marketable. The Maldives resort lawsuit went to collections. Their credit scores tanked. The small apartment in Mesa cost $2,100 a month. Cheap by Scottsdale standards, but devastating for them. Kyle West, their friend and co-conspirator, had vanished completely, deleted his social media, stopped returning calls. Apparently, he wanted no part of their legal troubles. In February, I heard through Florence that Violet had taken a job at a call center, $8 an hour, dealing with angry customers. Eric was driving for a delivery service. From country club to call center, from golf games to gig work. I didn't feel triumphant, just complete, like an equation finally balanced. April 12, 2025, Saturday morning, cool and clear. I sat in my new workshop, smaller than the old one, attached to a modest two-bedroom apartment, 700 square feet, concrete floor, one bay for the Mustang. I'd sold my car collection to the Phoenix Classic Auto Museum for $385,000. Kept only the '67 Mustang. The money went into my retirement fund, supplementing the $200,000 Sharon had secured. Now I lived on $4,200 a month, modest, comfortable. Mind. The Mustang's carburetor needed adjustment. Simple work, satisfying. I lost myself in the rhythm. Remove, clean, calibrate, reinstall. The kind of problem you could actually fix. My phone rang. Florence, Frank, Sunday dinner tomorrow. Can you make it? Will Violet be there? A pause. No, she doesn't come to family things anymore. Then I'll be there. After I hung up, I thought about that. My daughter excluded from family gatherings, not by decree, but by her own shame. Monday came, and with it my volunteer shift at the vocational training center. 3 hours teaching basic auto repair to teenagers who actually wanted to learn. Kids whose parents worked with their hands. One student, Miguel, 16, asked about fuel injection systems. I spent 20 minutes explaining it, drawing diagrams. Thanks, Mr. Walker, he said afterward. My dad says you used to own Walker's Auto Service. What's your dad's name? Roberto Martinez. He says you gave him his first job. I remembered Roberto. Good kid, hard worker, now running his own shop in Tempe. Tell your dad I said hello. Wednesday, I met with Richard Torres, the foundation administrator. The Frank Walker Educational Foundation had awarded its first scholarship, $15,000, to Marcus Johnson, 17. Son of a transmission specialist. Marcus starts at Arizona State in August, Richard said. Mechanical engineering, full ride between our scholarship and his other aid. I looked at Marcus's photo, young, bright smile, his father's grease-stained hands on his shoulders. That's one. How many can we do annually based on current fund performance? 12 to 15 students per year. Maybe 20 as the endowment grows. 20 kids every year. Learning trades, getting education, building futures. I thought about Violet working for minimum wage. About the Maldives villa and the $50,000 bill. Make it 20. Find a way. That evening, I found a letter from Kyle Miller, Violet and Eric's attorney. They were making one last attempt to challenge the trust. I called Sharon. They filed again. Third time. Judge dismissed it this morning. With prejudice. That means they can't file anymore. She paused. Frank, they're desperate. Eric lost his apartment. They're crashing with friends. This is their Hail Mary, and it failed completely. It's over. I sat on my small balcony, beer in hand, watching sunset over Phoenix. My life had shrunk. Smaller apartment, one car, modest income. But it was mine. Clean, honest. Did I regret it? The total severance? No. Saturday afternoon, April 19th. I was working on the Mustang when someone knocked. Violet, she looked worse than at the eviction. Thinner, worn, exhausted, dark circles, cheap clothes, haunted expression. Dad, please. 5 minutes. I didn't invite her in. Stood in the doorway waiting. I'm not here to ask for money. I needed you to know. You were right about everything. Eric and I, we were parasites. We used you. We planned." Her voice cracked. "We planned terrible things. And you stopped us." I said nothing. I got a job. 2 jobs, call center during the day, waitressing at night. Eric's working construction. We're learning what real life costs. She wiped her eyes. "I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed to say, I understand. Took you 4 months. Took me losing everything. We stood there, father and daughter, a gulf between us. I can't forgive you," I said finally. "Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I don't hate you. That's more than I deserve." She turned to leave, stopped. "The foundation, the scholarships, that's good. That's really good, Dad." After she left, I went back to the Mustang. My hands were steady. The work was simple, logical, fixable. Evening came. I sat on my balcony with a beer, thinking about justice and revenge and the difference between them. My daughter had tried to destroy me. I dismantled her life in response. Was that justice? Revenge? Both. I didn't know, but I knew this. 20 kids would get scholarships. Roberto Martinez had a thriving shop because I'd given him a chance. Miguel would learn to fix cars. My money, earned through decades of work, was helping people who deserved it. Violet was learning the value of labor. Eric was learning that charm doesn't pay rent. And me, I was learning that peace doesn't require victory. Just the knowledge that you stood your ground. I finished my beer, went inside, and fell asleep in my modest apartment with my modest life, knowing that tomorrow I'd wake up and teach kids about carburetors. The Mustang's engine hummed in my dreams, steady, reliable, fixed. Just like me, the moment Violet opened that red envelope at Christmas dinner, her world shattered. The documents revealed that I had legally transferred all my assets into an irrevocable trust, sold the house she grew up in, and had recorded every conversation where she and Eric plotted against me. Her confident smirk dissolved into disbelief, then horror, then utter devastation as she realized she had lost everything. The public humiliation she had planned for me became her own, in front of family, friends who now knew the truth. As she collapsed in tears, her expensive dress suddenly looking like a costume for a role she could no longer play, I felt not triumph but a cold, hard satisfaction. Justice had been served, not through anger or revenge, but through careful planning and the truth, looking back on those months of betrayal and the aftermath. I've come to understand that true justice isn't about revenge, it's about balance. My daughter and her husband saw me as an obstacle to their dreams of wealth without work. I simply restored the natural order. Actions have consequences. The foundation I created with my life savings now helps dozens of young people each year. Kids who actually want to work and build something meaningful. Violet and Eric are learning the value of honest labor, something they never understood when living off my success. I lost a daughter, but I gained peace. I traded a mansion for a modest apartment, a luxury car collection for one faithful Mustang, and a lifetime of betrayal for the satisfaction of knowing I did the right thing. In the end, isn't that what justice really is? Not punishment, but restoration of what should have been all along. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed. And of course, subscribe for more stories like this. Before you go, Make sure to check out our other videos by clicking the box on your screen. Thanks for watching, and remember, sometimes the best revenge is living well, and sometimes it's making sure justice is served. Until next time.